Well, I'm calling to ask you a question from your perspective. You're the new generation, the younger folks taking up the cause. How do you see your generation differently than, say, I'm in my 60s, and I'm from Georgia originally, which is, highly steeped in religious culture. I moved to Oregon 30 years ago, and it is just a different world here. Portland is, I guess, some surveys say it's the least religious town in the country. So I'm just wondering, do you see the younger folks having a different set of problems, explaining your position, or just what? I guess that's my question. I'm just wondering if there's a difference in the number of years that have passed since I was your age.
Well, the world is a different place. Society is a different place, but creationists still use the same arguments, so the explaining process is pretty much the same. It's a different world to explain it in, and the society is a lot more open and not as terrible. So, yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's better, right? Like it's at least in the United States, it's a better place. It wouldn't surprise me if Portland, Oregon was the least religious, city in the United States. The society there, or sorry?
I said there are churches around here, but I don't know anybody personally who goes to them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what the population size is, but the statistics would probably be interesting. My understanding is that the culture in Portland, Oregon, is similar to that of Austin, right? Like Austin, is keep Austin weird first, and then Portland followed that, right? And the entire show, Portlandia, just reminds me of Austin every time, except that Portland, Oregon isn't in the middle of Texas with a lot of religious influx, right? Like the Austin Baptist Church here I think is a mega church, perhaps. Hopefully not that large, but yeah. But yeah, I would say it's very different because I think there's at least a slightly larger acknowledgement in younger and newer atheists that there needs to be more emphasis placed on like the epistemology and the way that people come to the beliefs that they hold. There's been so many court cases since the 60s that have just sort of set the legal precedent of like, no, you don't need to go make this legal precedent. You just need to contact the FFRF and the ACLU and tell them, no, you can't spend my tax dollars on a giant cross that says, fuck all non-Christians or whatever it says.
There is a big, challenge, and I can see that through the years. I was just wondering if people that you associate with your age group, do you think they tend to be less religiously oriented than, they say that 70% of overall of Americans identify as Christian. I just wonder if that holds true for folks your age as well.
I mean, I think that religiosity in our generation and younger is definitely declining. I mean, there's definitely statistics that show that. I mean, I personally think that the big fight for our generation is going to be less about, actual religion, because that is steadily declining. And of course, we do still need to fight for that, fight for science education and things like that. But I think a lot of it is going to be more focused on the social aspects of within the atheist movement, there's a lot of division. And I think our generation's fight is kind of how do we unite atheism and work for a better future in that way, instead of fighting among ourselves because one person thinks that trans people don't exist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm reminded of that just with the whole gender identity discussion. I've heard a lot of atheists resist the usage of a preferred pronoun that someone might say.
Yeah. I'm a skeptic, so I can't agree with you about what you identify as.
Yeah, I mean,
just who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I use they, them pronouns, and that's something that a lot of people aren't very familiar with or comfortable with, which I totally understand, but I've had atheists tell me that, I'm, making it up and that I'm just, an SJW. And I mean, I get it. I have a nose piercing, eyebrow piercing. I had purple hair at one point. Like, I get it. I get what I look like, but...
I have pink hair at my age, so... I know, crazy, right? But it's a complicated issue because people just have never experienced it this way before. They never, it's like it's just you're just wrong. You're just wrong about what you think you are.
Well, that and they're not used to having to learn new things or the world being different or accepting the fact that like if from a young age you. Repeatedly and continuously are familiar with the development of scientific research and technological advancement, then basically every year the world gets more interesting and more fantastic. And if you live in a world where it hasn't changed since the Iron Age, then nuh-uh, I'm right, you're wrong, Jesus.
And I think for a lot of people, because they haven't heard of it until recently, it didn't exist until recently, which is absolutely not the case. Like, trans people have been around for as long as there have been humans, but, we weren't discussed. We weren't talked about in polite society. My mom, when she was growing up, when she was in high school, nobody said the word gay. Gay didn't exist. She didn't know Liberace was gay.
Which is...
That's, things like that, and just because she hadn't heard of it. But it still existed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I learned nothing. I had no experience. My folks didn't tell me anything about their thought. I don't think they had any thoughts on it other than, this is just the way things are supposed to be. And I was well into college before it dawned on me that I'm like, boys, what am I going to do with this? So, anyway, that's all I was calling about. Just wanted to get your take on the youth of the atheist youth of America versus the old timers.
Well, I think it's probably easier for the youth now because we have a very, very clear united interest in like, oh, okay, well, you and I may disagree on tax policy or, I may be wrong about whether you exist, basically. But
I'm making it all up.
How many people here like theocracy, which is whatever. I'm going to not go into a rant about our politics currently, but yeah.
I think we're going places, though.
Yeah.
Us youth, the youngins.
The youths of today.
Great job with the show, getting the word out. EJ, you're fabulous today. Enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
So on point. I love that thing. Well, I love all you guys, so I just wanted to call and say hi. And happy birthday to Janice from a week ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's in the chat. I'm sure she heard that. So happy belated birthday, Janet, again.
Yeah. All right. Oh, thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, Olin.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Talk to you. Bye.